Hi guys, welcome to this second Rerun Podcast. I'm here with Chip.
Hey y'all, how's it going?
And we're talking about how to start collecting watches. Right, so why don't we start off by what we're wearing today? I'm wearing my Omega Chronostop on a new mesh bracelet I just got for it. Picture here, hopefully. It's nice and it stands up. Like the mesh is rigid enough that I can just stand up and it's really satisfying. So I'm enjoying that.
I saw it. It looks pretty darn good. Where did you get the bracelet from?
Oh, it's just like an Amazon because I don't want to spend too much because I wasn't sure if I'd like it.
Mm-hmm.
But now I do. I'm kind of tempted by something more premium.
I mean, I think it looks different, but it looks really good on the Chronostop specifically.
Well, yeah, I didn't do it just off a whim. I did it because the original bracelets were mesh.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
So I knew it looked good. Yeah, but the original ones are like €300 minimum.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna spend 15 quid and get just an Amazon
Call it
one.
good. Yep.
What are you wearing?
All right, today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm wearing the Tag Heuer Link Caliber 36, which is actually a Zenith El Primero 400B movement. Reference number CT511B.BAO564.
Absolutely great.
I had to get the box out. I'll just take a picture of the main one.
Oh yeah, send that in. Brilliant. That makes my life easier.
There you go.
Yeah, last time I had to listen to it 3 times to catch every single letter number combo for the tag.
I have noticed some people use Omega references when talking about Omega's Rolex. Obviously, you use reference numbers. With tags, you just say what year and what movement it is, and what model, of course.
What? Oh, because they're so complicated.
It's kind of it's useless. There's a Tag Heuer group on Facebook that I have to be a part of since I have 2. And people are always talking about, oh, what year is that Carrera? What year is the Aqua Racer? Oh, is it the automatic? Oh, so yeah, it's the Caliber 5, blah, 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 blah. No one ever goes to me and picks out the box. And draws out the 12 or so character reference number. Because it's stupid.
Yeah. That's actually that's a good way to start collecting. Joining groups and joining communities is really a good way to get exposed to more watches and kind of widen your understanding and experience. I would say though, don't just join a specific brand group. I'm in a TUDOR group because I own a TUDOR and I'm interested in the brand, but before that I follow other pages which are more general and more, less culty. Because if you join a Rolex group, it's just it can be elitist. I don't know what a tag group's like.
Tag groups, it's not elitist. I think tag group is we get hit on a lot, but people appreciate the watches they have more. I think in that group.
Oh, that's nice.
One of the things we do talk about is how ridiculous AD or retail prices are for tags.
Right, so you're they're self-aware.
Self-aware, yeah, basically that's the better word. Self-aware. So people are talking about how if you go to an AD, that's cool, but everyone says buy a tag online from a reputable source, you'll save $1,000 or so.
Okay, well, talking about brands, I think when you start collecting, you have to start small, and don't, I guess splash out is the right word. Don't just go for a Rolex Submariner because everyone wears it or everyone tells you to get one, and you love it to bits. Because I used to love the Submariner to bits, and then it got boring, and then I started to appreciate it more, but then I realized that it wouldn't fit.
It's ubiquitous for the dive watch. It's everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has a phase with it at least. But it's a lot of money to drop on a watch, especially a modern one. And you might end up not liking it, believe it or not, because people buy Submariners, and then they get bored, and then they sell them.
At least you lose much money on selling a Rolex that's relatively new.
That is true. You won't necessarily lose money if you buy the right one, etc., etc. But it still ties up your money that you could be using for other things in the collection. And buying and selling watches is always a hassle, so you're gonna do it, but try to avoid it as much as you can. Same with Speedmasters, I find. Maybe that's a better example because they're more likely to lose money, I feel.
You can find some lightly used ones for a pretty good price on 24.
Yeah, I would.
Something.
And kind of working off that, I always buy pre-owned because I prefer the trade-off of spending a bit less, or spending quite a lot less in some cases, and getting a slightly more worn watch. Because I'm gonna beat up my watches anyway. I don't mind. So you need to think about whether you want a really crisp, and you want to pay the premium for buying a new watch.
No, that's one of my hardest things. Is I'm not against buying a pre-owned watch at all, but I do like something that's like relatively obtainable, being the first and having the story of that specific watch begin with you.
Yeah.
However, it is really unlikely that I'm going to buy a brand new, like, I don't know, Tech Philippe annual calendar or something. A pre-owned one, from several years old, is quote unquote affordable for what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's a matter of preference there, but you need to consider that when you start collecting. And I would actually say if you buy how do I phrase this? If you want to experience a watch, but you're not 100% sure about it, I would buy it used, experience it, and then if you really love it, go and buy a new one. Or borrow it from a friend if your friends are that nice, or try to go to a meetup and wear one.
You could always, if you really want to, they do those services where you can rent a watch.
Yeah, there's a few.
Those?
I feel like that's fairly what's the word? Hard to access. It's only in New York and London. I feel like they have that sort of thing.
And I also know that there's tons of fees if you I want to rent a. What did I see one time? I saw a new Cellini.
Oh yeah.
Only black, white, gold. It looked good, but it was rent for a week, and it was $900.
Wow. I mean, part of me is that's expensive because how much are they new? Actually, for a white girl one, probably over 10K, easy. Or probably way
15,
more.
15, I would say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I know how much their insurance would cost to do that sort of thing. So most of it's probably going to the insurance company.
I mean, it's a great business idea. Rent out your watch, make money off of it.
I don't think I'd ever do it. I'd just be scared of stuff getting stolen. But there's insurance. But it would still be, I don't know, stressful to me.
It's a little too much.
Yeah, and I would never rent a watch. I don't agree with the. So I also wouldn't rent a nice car for a day. I'm not that sort of
I mean, I might, but I think it has its merits too. If you were looking at two different cars and they won't let you test drive for whatever reason, someone say, yeah, if you pay me a little bit extra money, you can rent mine for a day and see how it is.
Well, I think that's
for longer than
that's fair enough.
Test drive.
That I would do if I was considering a car and I couldn't test drive for some reason. But I'm talking about renting a watch for an occasion.
Oh.
I personally, it doesn't seem genuine or honest. People are like, oh, wear a Rolex on your wedding day. And it's well, does it matter if you don't have the Rolex after your wedding day and it's not a memory? Surely that just devalues the whole idea of having a Rolex on your wedding day.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think for a wedding watch, it should obviously be a little bit more dressy, but at the same time, it has to be something that's a little bit extra in some form because it's your wedding.
Yeah.
Go big or go home kind of thing.
But Yeah, I just don't see the point if you're not keeping it. So yeah, just try out kind of a lot of brands. If you go into most ADs, they'll be fairly chill with you trying on watches.
Yeah, especially if you have like decent watch knowledge, usually talk to you about what they have there in more depth than saying, "Oh yeah, there's this silver, quote unquote, silver watch over here." I know one of the ADs that's over here went in there just because, oh look, there's a sign in the mall for Omega and Breitling and Grand Seiko. So of course, I'm gonna go inside. And the guy was like, "Hey, how can I help y'all?" He was looking around. I said, "Of course. I have a question about certain spring drive models or the 9F Quartz." And he was like, "Oh, watch guy. Of course, come this way." And then he didn't have a problem with me trying them on. If you at least are trying in a legitimate way to like know about watches and the watch culture, that most jewelers and dealers are willing to work with you in terms of like trying them on, getting their opinion.
I mean, really depends. If you walk into a Rolex dealership and you kind of window shop all the time, you're not going to build a relationship with them. If it's more of like an independent jewelers or maybe just a smaller brand, and you kind of this gets into the whole argument about like how to dress up to impress brands and how to like I don't know be favored by a dealership, which gets a bit complicated and a bit, and it's not something I'm that experienced with because I buy secondhand.
Mhm.
It might be interesting. I know a few people who work in ADs. It might be interesting to get them on a podcast to talk about that. Actually, I know a guy who works in the Grand Seiko LA boutique.
That'd be fun.
He's a cool guy. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, I need to get back on topic a little bit.
Collection, start small.
I would recommend starting small. Kind of, I guess the point is, regardless of your means. So if you're like in middle school, you can probably only afford like a Seiko 5, which is like the classic beginner's watch.
Seiko 5's a great watch. No
They
cap.
are great, but I think if you go into like a Seiko forum, they'll be like, "Yeah, get a Seiko 5." They'll like bully you into it, which kind of happened with me. I was looking for a dive watch,
And they said, yeah, get
and
the
I
SKX,
saw,
the best of
yeah,
all
they were
time.
like, "Yeah, get the SKX." No, but they were like, "Oh, get the SKX 007," and I like looked at it, and because I hadn't owned many watches, I guess you develop understanding for watches over time, and you learn what does and doesn't fit your wrist. And I got loads of quote unquote advice about the 007 and how it definitely would fit my wrist. And how if it didn't, I could change the bezel and make it smaller, which is vaguely true, but only by like a mil on each side. And luckily, I bought an SKX 013, the smaller version, which was not popular with some people. Some people were like very upset with me, and they were like, "You should have got a 007." I left that group because it was just toxic and very. It was like elitist, but elitist Seiko. It was really weird. And there
I
was
think that's the worst right there.
yeah, and there was one guy who was really triggered by it, and I was like, dude, he was like, you can't mod it, and I was like, well,
You can.
actually, you kind of can now. Yeah, I mean, then it was harder, but now it's getting easier and easier. And I've tried on an SKX 007, and they don't fit. It would have looked stupid. And now my SKX 013 is one of my favorite watches. So I would say take advice, but don't.
Ask questions too.
Yeah, and
People
ask
who have the
questions
same
and be aware, I get, and like be aware of what works for you and what you actually like. So
A friendly PSA, go to Amazon and search Citizen Automatic, their watches, and have fun there because not a lot of people know that there's some really good automatic Citizens on eBay that are Seiko cocktail time rivals. But right now,
I think there's a lot of like videos on YouTube of like, oh, 5 beginner watches that you should get, or 5 beginner watches under $200, or whatever. which are great if you're like not aware of what's out there. But there is more than that, like 5 or that 10 or that 20 available to you. So I mean, talk to other collectors. I think what really got me into the hobby was my Instagram, and who's the guy?
I mean, you are kind of Instagram famous.
Has nearly 3,000 followers, is Instagram famous. I'm very happy with my following. It's just like, it's not crazy. You put me off. Oh no, there was a page called Watchdog, who is niche. He has like really nice vintage Satinas, and he has dozens of them, and like Satinas and other brands. I'm drawing a black, basically all little vintage dress watches, which I really just like the look of. And he's the reason I have a TUDOR Oyster, because I was like, these are all really cool. I also like TUDOR, and then I found this it's kind of a creamy silver dial TUDOR that fit that bill, and I was really happy with it. But if I just like hopped on a Rolex forum or a TUDOR forum, even, I probably wouldn't have. They probably would have pointed me towards modern watches, and I wouldn't be so into vintage. So that kind of range of experience is really important. And just follow different. I follow pages where I'm like, I don't even like these large. Well, like I follow pages where it's like all large Seiko divers, which I know I couldn't wear, but they're just interesting to learn about and like interesting to know exist.
I mean, I discovered a new Breitling that I did not know existed, which is fitting because of the SpaceX launch today.
Oh, was there another one? I'm not really keeping up with the news.
Yeah, there's one. We're all trying to figure out what, of course, they're all wearing on their wrist. But
oh, right, nice.
the Breitling Avitimer Brilliant Spatiograph. It has you can zoom in on it. It's a countdown timer. A 10-minute countdown timer as well as the chronograph. Kind of neat.
So it's like a yacht timer, but for space.
Basically, 10 minutes till we launch. Let me start my Breitling. Right, neat.
I guess that basically is like a regatta complication.
But the countdown timer is digital.
That's pretty cool.
It is.
But yeah, you should. Well, actually, yeah, look at other collections and look what you see people wearing. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like on Instagram. If you just have like an uncle with a cool watch, firstly talk to him about it, and maybe he's also a watch guy. And kind of, also just try to wear as many watches as possible without buying them.
It's fair.
Because I've tried on like a Panerai, which is way too big for my wrist. But firstly, it renewed my respect for Panerai because it felt really solid. And that has kind of made me want one over the years. But it also made me aware that like, oh, I can't really wear this, it's too big. And you can kind of narrow your search down, I think. And like try on like a gold watch or like a gold plated watch and like see if it suits your skin tone or if you like how it looks. I think that's all, important little things to do.
I will say, it's very not bad, but it's mainstream to do this, that you have a watch, a dive watch, a dress watch, a chronograph, and then like a GMT or world timer. I don't feel like you have to do that either, because I'm kind of reaching that phase where like I can't really find a field watch that I'm like, very I'm gonna get that about.
Yeah.
There are a ton of GMTs and world timers that I love. A lot of Fairer Lander.
Is it Farah or Farah?
Fairer. It's British.
Fairer. Oh yeah. So it's
Fairer, like Wayfarer. It's just.
Oh yeah.
Fairer. Really. Oh no. Yeah. And knows. That watch is my absolute favorite.
You'll get it. You should get it. But that's one thing some people do, isn't it? They make a plan for a collection and they go, this is what I'm gonna buy in this order.
I mean, I used to be like that.
Really? Oh, really? I think it's a good idea, but plans change,
That's what I was gonna say.
and
Plans change.
especially yeah, and because the watch industry changes so much, and especially when you're entering the hobby, your perception changes so rapidly, and you kind of you go through phases, I guess, where you're like, I really like this, I really like that, and you kind of bounce around a lot before actually figuring out what you really like. And I think bouncing around and buying and selling is completely fine and completely kind of it just comes with the hobby. It's just natural.
Sounds like you're talking about Ben.
Ben is an extreme case. Absolutely, of buying and selling. Yeah, but Ben does have.
I mean, he has keepers that
He has keepers, and he's found some have
yeah.
stuck, but I think Ben's just
indecisive.
I think he's especially motivated by the hunt.
Hunt for greatness, yes.
The hunt for many watches.
Well, speaking of times changing, I used to think a steel bezel, like goofy, is like a bezel that's in ceramic or whatever, contrasting, or aluminum, contrasting the dial. That's how it's supposed to be. And then I saw Manta Ocean King steel bezel with that blue dial. Changed my mind.
Oh yeah, I think I do. Yeah.
Now I want that bad, real bad.
I was gonna say my SKX has a silver dial, silver bezel.
I mean, it looks pretty. I think it looks on the right watch. I think it looks like really good. Like on some of the older Daytona models, I think it looks pretty slick. If it's like super duper duper bulky, like if you put like a steel bezel on like a big Invicta or something.
But I think making a plan is a fair.
I think making a plan is the best way to go too, because you have a general roadmap in your head. You're not gonna be like, oh, I need a field watch. I saw one for sale today. I'm gonna buy that, and then you're like, I field watches kind of suck, or whatever style it is.
You've decided you don't. You need to decide what you like and kind of, I guess, aim in a general direction when looking for a watch. Because I don't think, I mean, sometimes hunting for a specific reference can be really fun. And like, I want an Omega 166.010. I think I've got that right, which is a really nice vintage Seamaster.
I'm looking at that. That's beautiful.
It is real nice, and I've liked that for years.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, that same watch, if I liked it for years and I want it real bad, is a salmon dial Rolex Air King, the Explorer numerals.
Oh yeah.
If it's number 14,000, dude, I'm a sucker for that.
That's nice.
I will. This is on my grave. I will buy one. Die.
Well, I guess that's a type of plan. You know, there's the general plan of like how to fill a collection to. I guess a collection should suit your needs and suit what you want to do. Mm-hmm. So going, oh, I need a weekend watch, I need a daily watch, and I need a formal watch is a really solid plan, because then you're going to have something appropriate to wear every day in any situation. But also grails are like the one thing.
Yeah. Grails keep you going in life.
Yeah, I feel like a grail should keep you going. So even if you're like an investment banker or something with a really nice salary and you could just easily afford a grail, I wouldn't jump for it. Like, wait a year and see if you still like it. Think of it like a tattoo, because firstly, grails normally cost a lot.
Oh yeah, most grails are 5 figures.
Yeah, okay, if your grail is like a rare, I mean, it's different if it's like a really rare, hard to find watch that's actually not that expensive. Because some people at grail will be like, oh, my granddad had this little, I don't know, weird Timex, and I want to find that exact reference.
That's fair.
That's a different type of hunt. But we're talking about like, I know, like something higher end that you really.
AP Royal Oak RD2, that super duper thin perpetual calendar.
Oh yeah,
it's like
that's
80
nice.
grand. Thanks, slick. Speaking of grails, Sam, right now at this very moment, what is your grail?
I don't know.
You not have one?
I think a smaller Royal Oak would be really cool, like a 37mm Royal Oak, which they made. They're rare, but there are some 37mm Royal Oaks. Yeah, I know like the Nautilus some people prefer,
Mhm.
and the overseas I do actually really like the design of. I just don't think would suit me. I don't know. Rolex are just really cool.
Rolexes
It's one of those
are
things
really
I
cool.
don't want to like it because it's too mainstream. It's one of those like
It's kind of like everyone knows that Rolexes they're popular, and if you wear one, you're gonna kind of be a target. But at the same time, pretty cool, pretty
yeah.
neat.
Well, I guess it's kind of a grail that I want a Rolex 1500. Although that's fairly achievable at the moment. I'm just kind of waiting for the right one, the right deal.
And that's a whole lot more achievable than my Grail.
Yeah.
My Grail is the Patek Philippe E270G. It's the perpetual calendar chronograph moon phase.
Oh, did you send a photo to that? Does that have the like stepped bezel?
I don't know about step. I think it might like a very slightly one, but yeah, I'll send a
Yeah.
picture to you. It's
Um.
it's a 6-figure watch.
Oh yeah.
Either that or the Datograph Perpetual, but I think the Patek Philippe was a bit smaller.
Nice. But my point about kind of don't leap for a grail is if you have the money and you go out and just buy your grail, you'll be at a 10. Excitement wise, you'll be at a 10.
And then everything else you buy is kind of like, oh,
Exactly. After that, you'll be like everything. I mean, cheaper or less valuable in your eyes won't give you that same rush. So I would really build up and kind of, I guess, when you plan your watches or plan your roadmap of watches, start low with like beginner stuff and experiment kind of cheaply, I would say, with what you like. And then go, okay, in a year, if I still like this, I don't know, GMT or something, or this more complicated watch, or just more expensive watch from a higher end brand, then absolutely go and buy that.
mm-hmm.
And then you kind of have to one up yourself to excite yourself more and more. I know I do.
Yeah, I do too.
Because like I owned my TUDOR when I got my CWC, and I kind of got the CWC and was like, oh, that's neat.
And then you're like,
And then I was like, yeah, but it's not a TUDOR though. Which was like partly because I'm a bit, I really love my TUDOR. And the CWC is less emotional, but I think I also knew that it was significantly cheaper. And maybe less my style at the time. I don't know. I have now grown to really like my CWC, but it just didn't give me the same initial rush, which I think a lot of people really like when they buy a watch.
yeah, I will say that when I got my Carrera, I was like, holy shit, bro. We just got a Carrera from an AB.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And then when I got
Yeah.
my Eterna, which retails for the same price, obviously I got a crazy good deal on the Eterna. I was still like, this is pretty cool. But even though it's a quote unquote better in terms of like movement and how it feels, watch, it wasn't the same level of like excitement and woohoo,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah, and I don't think you should let someone tell you what should excite you. I
Yeah.
think if you're really stoked on getting a watch, then that's kind of you do you.
Mm-hmm. I will say that one thing that my collection in my head, which I don't think it's a smart idea, is it's a lot of it is based off of what type of movement it is. So like I do want like a really good quartz like Citizen Chronomaster or Ranseiken 9F. And I also want a spring drive and some automatics and some hand wounds. And that's going to be expensive. If I keep on that mindset of collecting of like, all right, here's my quartz box, here's my automatic box, here's my annual wind box.
Yeah.
But I just think watch movements are just super cool because you don't really think about them until you're looking at them and you're like, dang, this is working its butt off all day, every day, constantly.
I mean, people do. I guess you're just a movement collector, and there's different types of collectors.
I guess so.
Because I would say there's like, you're like a movement collector, and you really appreciate the technical side,
I do. I will
which
say
is great. and actually you have got some really cool watches because of it. Then there's like bulk collectors, and I see this a lot in, I guess, in the vintage world. There's a lot of people who will collect like a load of like, say, 1950s Saturn. I guess Watchdog is kind of like that. He collects a lot of very similar watches. Obviously, there's nuances and variation, and it's really actually quite cool. But that's what he enjoys. So that's what he collects. And then there's also people like me who, how many watches do I have right now? I mean, that I probably wear like 4 of my watches, and I'm very aware that I don't wear. I guess I'm aware that I only need a few watches to make me happy.
That's fair. That's actually a pretty good point.
And I'd rather have quality over quantity. Yeah, and also brand does. I guess brand matters to me more than movement.
Brand is a huge thing too.
Yeah, because I guess I aspirationally was like, I want a TUDOR, and then I got one, and I was really happy. And then I'd seen a load of vintage Omegas, and I was like, oh, I want a vintage Omega now. And I got one, and I was really happy. So that's kind of like that's how I plan. That's my roadmap where I'm like,
that is your mantra of collecting.
This will make me happy. Yeah, I mean, and I was like, I kind of want a military watch. And I think the CWC is really cool, but it didn't like fully hit the mark initially. It wasn't like perfect. But it has still filled that gap and still done really well. Cool. We're kind of at time. We've like, how long have we recorded for? Yeah, it's like 40 minutes worth.
Well, we got off topic quite a bit, but that's okay, because what do people do with ADHD? Get off topic.
Yeah, I mean, I guess any closing thoughts on how to start a collection, Chip?
I do have, I guess, a quote unquote outro. More like a closing statement than an outro, but yeah. So
Right.
I know for me, I love cars, I love airplanes, and I love boats. I'm pretty much like a 5-year-old at heart. So if there is a watch or watch company that deals heavily with military planes or motorsports or, mariners of any kind, I'm generally gonna like that. So for me, that's pretty much Breitling or Bremont and Tag Heuer, even if Tag Heuer gets a lot of crap for, being Tag Heuer. I love cars. So I guess part of it is bring your other hobbies into watches if you can. If you can, like a fishing watch. I don't know about that. Maybe I'll be the first to do one, but a field watch substitute that need, being versatile, being visible all the time. And don't impulse buy like I did one time. I regret that.
Just that's the main point of this. Don't impulse buy. Don't jump for like a Rolex if you can afford. Just like take it slow.
Or don't even buy one that's on sale that you're kind of like, ooh, that looks good.
I guess it's also really important. We've spoken about ADs and having a good relationship with ADs. But it's also important to buy from a reputable source.
Yep. That is a fact.
And I think a lot of people are super paranoid about buying a fake Rolex, but then they ignore that there's other fake watches. And I think you should be aware. And there's things you need to like learn about as a new collector, like Franken watches and Redialed watches and kind of all the potholes and mines to avoid when collecting. And I think we will do a video. Yeah, maybe a video on that because I think that'd be a more useful aid. I guess to finish up, I would say definitely start small and be patient. Because running out and buying a cheap watch because you want to get into watches is absolutely fine. Obviously cheap is relative to the person, but I would encourage you to not tie up too much funds in one piece. But also I wouldn't immediately go and buy like one watch 1 week and another watch the next week, and kind of don't get into that cycle because it gets really, I guess it makes saving up for your goals harder. And yeah, as we said, window shop, join communities, make friends. It's really easy to make friends on Instagram. That's how I met Chip, and all the other guys involved in this. And if someone has a watch you like on Instagram, just DM them and say, "Hey, I really like your, I know, vintage Seamaster," which I've done to some people to learn about the Seamaster that I like. And they've been quite helpful and been like, "Oh, this is one thing and this is another," and they've taught me. And you're never gonna stop learning, I guess, about watches and about, because there's so much to learn.
Yeah, there's always something.
And I think that's it's a fun of a hobby, but you need to kind of be aware you don't know everything. And if you make a plan and then you realize that you say don't like world timer watches or you don't like GMTs and you really wanted one at one point, you just kind of have to follow your gut a bit.
Watch collecting is definitely follow your gut and follow what you like more than what quote unquote makes sense.
Yeah, just try to be sensible about it.
Watches are one of the things where the more you learn about them, the more things open up to you instead of the opposite where, the more you learn about something, usually the more you make an informed choice of a smaller selection because, there's less happy things. But with watches, there's just so much stuff that it's a giant rabbit hole you can never escape.
That's kind of a good closer, to be honest.
You cannot escape the rabbit hole, and it is eternal. Rabbit holes are perpetual.
You will never escape. Thank you, Chip. That was muy bien.
Dankeschön, Sam.
De nada.
I said that in German, and you said you're welcome in Spanish.
I know, I'm better at Spanish. How do you say you're welcome in German? I should know this.
Bitteschön.